Good morning. It's the crypto a day morning for today's date. That is the 28th day of January 2019. All bets, trades of the like. That's within each his own risk and own reward. Before getting into Bitcoin, let's take a quick look at NEM. 1,380 Satoshi against BTC. This down day of about 6.33% below these lows, which means that price point's not seen since September the 26th. And we could be nearing the September 12 lows. But along the way, we've had this nice little rally and some up and down moves, efficient for the buy low, sell high strategy in which I have been talking with. Now, the entire crypto market space pretty much down right now as Bitcoin, it's managed to break through this level of support, albeit right now barely. Still it has. We can see within this 18 how it's showing a lot of the weakness amongst the 18 lows, especially in such when we had this move to the 18 highs on January the 26th, and it didn't hold that area you want to see it hold, which was around 35.83, this little area of previous resistance. Came right back to where it was, and then the weakness candle on the previous session, and these moves, they usually happen pretty fast. 4-hour term time frame. And here we can see that move that got rejected fast, as this was that level of resistance area. We can see in here there was some at 34.50. There was some here at 35.50 rather. The 35 high numbers were the area, but it didn't support that. And after this one here, where buyers came in really quickly after this move, this was for every exchange. This was a real move that took about 2 or 3 minutes to accomplish, where it went down in a V-shaped formation. And obviously came back quickly, but now has since came down to this low, not finding support, at least not within the 4-hour time frame, and now marking the moves going lower. Single hour play, this happened about 8 p.m., ending at about 1 in the morning, and has just been grinding its way a little bit towards the downside ever since. When we take a look at the opposite fund, which is the TUSD, what we see in here was from the fall of 6,000, which is representative of this break of resistance, that it had its original move and it broke through that, thus filling this empty space, which was the empty space on the opposite end, going from the lows near above 3,000 up to over 4,000, in this case down to 24,000 or so Satoshi, but it established this level of support, retested established support later on along the way within this 18 high resistance test, and there's the spot where it got above it, established within this level of resistance, and so much further that now it's been many days from this point, and a lot of strength amongst the 18 highs, which is the opposite of the weakness on the 18 lows, and now just breaking out above resistance. Therefore, it's going to come to that situation, that's that one that's not so fun I talk about many times. You have a key high, you have a good correctionary move to the price, sufficient enough where it fills empty space to a higher low, which is the case. And then you manage to U or V shape it back up, which oftentimes when it does go there, the move that it takes to go from wherever it broke out to here is usually just big size green candles, which against Bitcoin would be a decent size red. So therefore, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a fast move to this point, which is the equivalency of 3,100 and change Bitcoin. And I think on the break of this, it would be a decent size leg higher, thus on Bitcoin, decent size leg lower. I talked a lot last year about $3,000 Bitcoin, as it was priced above 6, and moving down there it went to like 3150. I can put Bitcoin back on the screen, and within a fall it was one of those close moves, but now since it's had this lower high move, breaking down below here, I would expect more than a $100 fall or 4%. I'd be looking for 25, 26-ish kind of area as a conservative level. And as I've been saying a little bit for a while too, I think the bottom is near. And I think that means a decent chance that breaking down below this, we'd be talking about one of those washout capitulation lows, question mark, as one of the possibilities coming through. However, of course, the market's always going to do what it's going to do, which has been the reason the entire time when this was going up, I was turning these cryptos into precious metals because the just in case factor. And I realize I always talk about point A highs and point B lows. Well, this is a key high, of course. And at some point, I do expect there to be a very good rally after this. Whether we're at the lows in here, whether you have another leg lower in the 22s, 2100 or something of that nature, or even if it goes down to the 1000, a leg higher. But the lower it goes down, the less significant a leg higher could be. For if it has the bottom in the area now, that's a pretty good higher low considering it doesn't even touch this previous level of resistance at 10 high or 1000 and 1100. But if you have a point A low, point B high, and then the low in here, and it manages to work its way up, well, like I said, this would be that situation again if it did something like that where you're at that previous resistance and it could break it relatively well. But if it's, say, a low in here, you could end up having a rally even up to there. And that would be going from, like, say 1629 up to 5500 and significant rally points. But that would mean, myself, when I'm using the silver example, that if I'm seeing a move like this, my portfolio would, of course, go lower. But from point low to this high here, it would most likely work out that I could be seeing a good improvements, a lot of good trades coming through in altcoins, and I'll be again during an uptrend this way talking about buying silver, doing things like that because the market's higher within the sell high and buy low. And selling Bitcoin at this point because of fear of the market going down to makes me kind of wonder because that there was so many other reasons before where the prices were higher if you really were scared of markets going lower, and that could be an amount that could not be really detrimental to one's portfolio. Well, then risk reward management is really important when you look at your portfolio. How's the best way of moving your funds, making your investments, your trades, and understanding based on what you have, your knowledge and what you are able to do, the best way of assessing risk. Let's now move on quickly to a few other altcoins. Theta, which had this nice little up move, and because the entire market space is going off, this has also been in a nice move higher. We're having a little bit of a correctionary play. I got two lines drawn in here, as these lines represent where I really need to see it hold from this rally, where these were the key resistance points. This represented a few levels of key hit areas on the upper end. This represents this level of resistance in here. More times congested amongst this area. So if it can hold anywhere within this range on any correctionary move, that would be very, very strong when it then later gets out above it. So it's entered that area now. It's at the top, and if it just, again, if it goes down to here, then that's successfully going back to where it came from, but much more deeper. And at this stage, I've gotten one of my buybacks already because I ended up buying pretty close to the low. 1431 was the low. I got like 1435 or 33, somewhere in that area. But that means I'm gonna have buy orders all the way down, ready to go. That is lower, because I had a lot of sell orders hit on the way up, as that's how I do it. Sell orders for higher prices, buy orders ready for lower prices. And I'm expecting more buy orders for myself as a trader to come in. Like DGB for me is due to buy. I haven't seen its chart in a while, so let's put that up right now. And I know it's due to buy because I can see what the value of it is on the exchange's site, which says X amount of value, and I know how much I'm supposed to be worth. And it's many percentage points lower, enough where my buy order is going to be coming in a near situation. And it's been grinding its way lower for several days now. Lower amongst the 18 at this level of support. It's kind of broken through it. So therefore, this thing can easily fall a few more basis points lower than this down and maybe test some of these previous lows. But yeah, like the way I make the trades for a lot of these, it's worth X amount of Bitcoin. So if it comes down to say 244 where my buy order is, at the price point of 244, how many do I need so that it's worth the X amount of Bitcoin? And then I'll subtract the number from what I already own, and then from that point on, once the buy order comes in, okay, then say if I buy at 243, I'm looking, okay, I'm going to sell around 264. Well, how many do I need at this point to be worth that? And I subtract the difference again. That's how many I sell. So that's DGB. Some other coins. Cardano, which had another beautiful run from the 855 handle up to about 1350, but we can see here that the 18 average went sideways. 2 days now breaking below yesterday, big down day of 3.2, 4.2 for today. Now at levels not seen down towards here. And for different areas like a Fibonacci retracement, a 61.8% level, somewhere at least another 100 basis points or about 10% lower. Could still make a significant higher low from this low point in here. And overall within the weekly chart, it's been easiest to see it this way. But after the down move, it's had this little bit of a correctionary phase, very little attempt in getting above it. That going down below, you could easily have a significant lower low, and we've seen big moves. That breaking below 866, we could be talking about 4, 5, 300, 700 would be very conservative. But having those types of moves when you have bear and bull markets, totally not a surprise. We've already seen a situation where it falls from 4,200 down to under 1,000, a 4x move. So therefore, a 4x move on 1,300, these things can have large volatilities in both directions. Next up, Loop Ring. And after several days of this sideways action at around 1,100, it went off. It had a move doing nearly a 3x gain. Almost every single, if not every single day being an up day. Yes, it was just from this point here on January 14th to have 10, 11, somewhere around there. A little under a dozen, more than a week. Consecutive days up now. We are on day number 6 of the red variety, given back a decent amount of its move. The low in here works out to 1059, and let's do it with the high for some Fibonacci numbers. That means that's calculated when I say do it. And amongst that calculation, which is this number divided by this, a number a hair under 3, to the root of these numbers here, 0.382, 0.618, and so on and so forth. And these are the two that I'm really going to be focused on, is the 1577, which is where it's nearing now, as well as the 2016 handles. So for now, let's put in 2016, the settings. Okay, didn't do what I wanted it to, but close enough at 2018. And 1577 is a area that I would expect it to pierce below it. When we take a look at this, say on a shorter term, what I want to see is I obviously no support from the looks of this at the 2018, but or 16 either way. And on the 4-hour time frame, you see none. But if you don't see any, which is pretty much the case, I mean, this line could be almost anywhere, and or other places, you expect a fast move to the next level, which so far has been the case. There has only been this for a correctionary move short term, and then a little bit of a leg lower here going sideways. So I would expect that after this is done correcting, it has done so far short term on this through that of time, that it will make its move to go below this number here. But realistically, with a lot of these coins, they can oftentimes just technically come back to where they come from. And if it were to do so, I would be expecting there's a good chance it could do this 1231. Now I got in this during this lower end of this range, and have up until just recently I've been just selling this, and then now getting a few buy orders back with consecutive days lower. And as I've been showing the graphs amongst the trades, this is the AID coin where the blue line is above the orange one, or trading back and forth. Whereas within that coin, it's just been a few trades because I got into it during the bottom level area, then the selling, and it meant that I was doing worse than holding because, well, I don't own as many after my first sell order. Then I'd sell up in here and I own less, so I've already cashed into Bitcoin. But on the way down, as we can see, I've barely crossed above this last line as the market's up, well, still 60% from when I started trading it. Well, what that means is if my next order is a buy order, given that I still own less than I did when I originally started, that this will not go down as much than this, and it'll be noticeably above the orange line. If I have a sell order next, because I own more at the start, then the percentage gain on this, the orange line will remain above the blue one. And again, the blue one is me buying and selling, but it's pretty much impossible for the orange line to maintain itself above such. Overall, within this, I welcome the buybacks for the markets going lower, because I realize amongst my trading strategy that when I get the moves that I can sell here, buy back, I realize that I have to now have a significant break below 1100 for me to reach negative territory at my trading levels. And the more amount of fake moves, if you want to call it that, or rallies that come back to decent price corrections, gives me opportunities just to flip different, just the more transactions and the more trades I get, the more profitable long term it's going to be. And that's going to conclude the video. I'll put up silver to end it, which, after having a great day on Friday's session, is having a small pullback, but hanging in there above the 18 on the daily chart, above the 18 on the weekly. A lot of resistance has been established at the high 1583, 82 area has been a big level of resistance. And amongst such in here that whenever this seems ready to go, I believe this is going to go off pretty good. I recently did a long-term video upon such, and this was one of the charts that I shown, which is the long-term chart of silver overall. So if you haven't seen that, that's available on the channel. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day, great week. Bye-bye.